Oh, y'all, it is the 21st day of Vlogmas. Can you believe it? I am having a hard time believing it. But we've been doing the thing. We've been doing the thing. And by that I mean I have been here every day at oh, I know y'all can see that junk back there. I've been here every day at 2 p.m. Eastern, going live and talking about a variety of things. And a lot of y'all have come here to hang out with me. Sorry, this is a sewing project that should not be visible. It is. I didn't Y'all know half the time I don't know what day it is. I've been thinking it's Friday for like the last 2 days, and it is not Friday. Um, so hello, happy Vlogmas, everybody. Today, we're gonna kind of wrap up what we've been talking about for the last week, which is travel. And if you are new to the channel, one of the topics we discuss on this channel is travel, because a lot of folks out here on the internet know me as Picky Girl Travels the World, because that's my jam. That's my thing. We also on this channel talk about what it's like to live outside the US, how you can leave. We also talk about getting our financial situation in order so that you can do the thing that is your jam, whether that is travel, that's moving abroad, that is gardening, whatever it is. It's not free. You got to have money. And so those are the things we talk about on this channel. If that sounds like your cup of tea, please subscribe. I am trying to hit 20,000 subscribers before the end of the month. That means I've got about 10 days to get another 100 and I don't know how many. Don't make me do math in my head, but it's about 10 days to get 150-ish more folks to subscribe. So thanks for those of you that have subscribed. If you've already subscribed and you're like, Adelia, what can I do? You can hit the like button. Because if you tell YouTube that you like this video, they're more likely to show it to new folks who then in turn can subscribe. All right, y'all. So we have covered a variety of topics when it deals with travel, everything from traveling with your pets, traveling with other people, why traveling is not so great right now. And so I thought for the last day of this week focused on travel, it would be fun to kind of look back. I had grand plans to do sort of a Spotify wrapped of my travel. That didn't happen, y'all. I am in the process, the very slow process of trying to find a new place to live. And that is not just a job in and of itself, that's like two, three jobs in and of itself. So the idea I had about doing a Spotify wrapped esque presentation, that's not going to happen, but we can still talk about like, where did I go this year? What did I think about it? Where might I go next year? And I'd love to hear, the highlights from y'all's travel life as well. Um, okay, so let's see, where do we want to start? Now, Ivana Robinson, who is probably not watching this because she's probably with a client, would call me out when I said this, but this is the truth. I didn't think I would be doing much traveling in 2023. I really didn't. I was like, oh, I'm going to stay home. And then I didn't. And she would say that I was just lying to myself. I enjoy travel. As I mentioned to y'all, travel is my thing. And it is also my weakness. So while I had the great intention of staying home and staying put, when somebody says, hey, we hosting a meetup in Morocco, you want to go? Yeah. it's very hard for me to say no to travel, as my credit cards will attest to for this year. Okay, so how many countries did I visit in 2023? One, two, three, four, five, six. And I did some domestic travel in Mexico. So 6 countries. Um, I don't think that's too shabby. The way I used to travel pre-pandemic, that might have been 6 countries in one trip. But I don't do that kind of torture to myself anymore. So 6 countries across 12 months, not too shabby, not too shabby. Where did I go this year? I visited the United States four, well, at least 4 times this in 2023. I was in the US. I started the year in Atlanta. And then in February, I accompanied Rashida Dow on her journey to empty her storage unit. And then I visited Texas in March because I attended something that something I had wanted to do that I didn't know existed, but I had hoped to exist. Many of you know that I make my own clothes. I sew. I have done sewing classes where I travel. When I was living in Honduras, I flew to the Arlington area to learn how to make jeans. I've flown to Philadelphia to learn how to make a bra. Like I've done that, but what I really wanted to do was to go to a sewing retreat full of Black women, and I got to do that in March. I say Dallas, it was actually outside of Dallas, but that was I guess we'll say that was my birthday gift to myself. And then most recently, I was in the US in October for to see Adele. Again, something I didn't think was going to happen. And then in the middle of no spend month, no less, when I wasn't supposed to be spending money, somebody posted on Instagram that they had an Adele ticket they were getting rid of. And I didn't hesitate. I was like, I'll take it, which is not in keeping with the spirit of no spend month. However, I chalk that up to kind of like once in a lifetime sort of things, because low key, I don't know that Adele is gonna like continue to perform and tour like she used to. So I say it's okay. I visited the US. I visited El Salvador twice this year. I also went to El Salvador last year in 2022, but both times I was in El Salvador this year was to host Reclaim the Retreat with Ivana Robinson. It was fabulous. I will be back in El Salvador in February to host another retreat for Galentine's Day. If you don't have any Galentine's Day plans and you're like, you know what, it would be great if I could have some fun in the sun, make some new sister friends, learn some stuff, you should join us in El Salvador. Go to reclaimtheretreat.com. You can find out all the details on that. So I went to the US, I went to El Salvador, I went to Morocco for the second time in as many years. This time I went with Exodus Summit. They hosted their second meetup in Morocco. That was fun. I think there's some folks in the chat that I actually got to meet in Morocco. Um, so yeah, I did that. And then from Morocco, I went to Portugal, a place I had visited for the first time back in 2016. It was one of the places that was on my possibility list for a second residency. I got to hang out with our Black Utopia, Rick and Halisi, along with a few other folks. And then over the summer, I went to Canada which I went to, why was I going to Canada? To see Beyonce. Why else? What we do? No, but since we had tickets for Beyonce in Toronto, y'all know I can't just go one place on a trip. I gotta squeeze something else in if I can. And the Montreal Jazz Festival was the week before. So I visited Montreal. I'd never been to Montreal nor Toronto before. And I did some good fabric shopping in Toronto. I think maybe one day I'll take the footage from that and put it together and share with y'all. Um, Okay, Aurora. That's right. I was so fortunate to meet Adelia, Stephanie, Rashida, Ava, so many more life-changing experience. It really was. You gotta love it when you get 100 Black women together in the desert. Uh, yeah, it was great. So Jazz Festival, Beyonce, and then I came home and chilled for a little bit. I don't count this as a full trip. My granddaughter came to visit and I had to go pick her up. I was in Houston to pick her up for less than 10 hours. So we won't count that. But I was in the air for that. And then most recently, and country number 50 for me was Argentina last month. So um not too shabby. I don't know what shabby would be. Because how much anybody travels, that's their own thing. So for me, for somebody who thought they weren't going to be going anywhere in 2023, I guess I'm pleasantly surprised that I had some travels. Um, what was my top activity in this year? I don't know. Oh, I didn't even talk about. I did take 2 domestic trips here in Mexico. That's travel. We will still count that. For my birthday, even though I gifted myself a trip to a sewing retreat for my birthday, of course, I had to go somewhere. I visited Zihuatanejo, which is in the state of Guerrero for my birthday. Stayed in a penthouse with an indoor swimming pool overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's pretty sweet. And in October, beginning of November, I went to Oaxaca, the capital city of Oaxaca. I had been there twice before. I went once for in July for the Guelaguetza. If you are considering visiting Oaxaca, I think going to the Guelaguetza, or at least being in town during that part of the year that's in July, it is just like Mexican culture overload. So I'd been there then, and I went 2022, I think, for a day trip. Oaxaca is really not a day trip, but I made it one. And so what I had not done is I'd never been in that part of the country for Day of the Dead. The Day of the Dead traditions are very, very indigenous. In that part of the country, it is one of the most indigenous areas of all of Mexico. So celebrating the holiday there was kind of like something really cool that I always wanted to do. I did that. I made a video about it and posted it on the channel while I was still in Oaxaca, which never ever happens because I know some of y'all are still waiting on Scandinavia content, and that was more than a year ago. Uh, so I did 2 domestic trips in Mexico this year. So like my highlights of the year, I think having my granddaughter come visit was cool in its own way to get to like show her where I live because she had no concept of where I live. Where I went when I wasn't at her house, she had no idea. Uh, and probably of course, being in El Salvador, hosting 2 retreats this year, and I don't know, Oaxaca was is definitely pretty high on that list. I well, maybe it's better that I don't try and pick, like, the best thing of my travel. Were there any travel duds this year? Um, well, this isn't really a dud, but when I went to California with Rashida, there was some expectation that, like, she would get to show me the town, show me, her hood, where she grew up. We would get to go and do some touristy things. And that didn't happen because for those of you who watched her storage clean out video, you know that we worked nonstop for 2 weeks straight. There was no time to sightsee. So I don't know. We're not gonna call that a dud, but I did not get to see the things I thought I might see, you know. So there's that. I don't think there were any duds. I mean, like when I went to Las Vegas, them Vegas prices after living outside the US, ridiculous. Um, I don't think I don't think there were any real duds. While I did not love Montreal, the city, I did enjoy the jazz festival. Yes. And this is what I was not completely clear on. I don't think either one of us really understood. It was a work trip and nothing else. Um, but I'm glad I was there to help her get it done. Um, and like she can move on with her life now. So at least there was that. There were any duds for me. A lot of folks have asked about Argentina. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the week that, like, given Rashida's most recent experience in Buenos Aires, but given the reputation, and let me tell you how Argentina's bad Argentina's reputation is. I left Argentina and flew basically directly to El Salvador. And one of our guides for the retreat picked me up at the airport and we're catching up. And I mentioned I was coming from Buenos Aires. And he presents, Salvadorans look all kind of ways, just like Americans look all kind of ways. He comes, people see him and they see white boy. And he says to me, they don't really like other kind of people. They act like they're better than other people. And I was like, you blonde haired, just like they are, some of them are, and you picked up on that. So they definitely don't have the best reputation. So my expectations going to Buenos Aires were very low. I mentioned to y'all, really and truly, the only reason I went was because somebody else was doing the planning and the logistics. And so all I had to do was show up. And because the trip I went on was focused on the Afro Argentine experience, Afro Argentine history, which when I tell people that, almost every time the first response is they're Afro-Argentinians, even among Argentinians, which is just underscores the reason why I took that trip. So my expectations were very low. There were no openly racist incidents. So I guess we gonna count that as a win. Um, will I be returning to Argentina? I'm not gonna go out of my way to go back, but if an opportunity presents itself, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it. All right, let's see. Were there any questions in here before we talk about what my plans are for next year? Okay. The ABX girl already booked a suite with a kitchen for the Caribbean, flying out just before the inauguration. Okay, got them plans in place. I love that. Okay. Trying to be like me when you grow up. Y'all, I don't know if actually, sometimes I feel like I'm I'm not gonna say irresponsible, but will I shirk all of my responsibilities to go on a trip? Absolutely. So, is that irresponsible? I don't know. Depends how you look at it. My granddaughter who came to visit me is 8. She had a fun time. She enjoyed herself. The highlights of the trip for her was the aquarium and the Hello Kitty cafe. Two things I hated, but she absolutely loved them. Um, I think she had a ball. She was trying to speak Spanish. We did all kind of experiences. She will be back next year, and I'm gonna have to figure out what am I gonna do to top myself this year. Hopefully, kids don't be remembering things, so hopefully she doesn't remember too much what we did. Am I contemplating residency in Portugal? Not actively. I was, and I did a video on that to talk about, I think it's called something like getting second residency in Portugal or something. I talked about why it would make sense, and I also talked about for how me at this point in my life, it really, really doesn't. Um, and I did a separate video on kind of how my second residency, given the current state of things, my second residency dreams are kind of on hold right now because based off of what, because remember, I'm the picky girl, based off of what I want out of a place and what places are offering, there's not really a good match for me right now. Um, not ruling that out, just there's not a super good match right now. Okay. Yes, the Afro-Argentine tour that I took was with a group called Lunfarda. Uh, I recommend them highly if anybody is going to be in Buenos Aires, and they do other tours as well. But we were the first time that the group I was with, everybody was from the US, everybody was just about everybody was Black American. And so we were the first group of Black foreigners that had been through that experience. So yeah, that I would totally recommend them. Okay. Um, Angela, you are not the only one. I think I have one of these in me. Like I could go and be there for my friend and help her out. I don't know that I could do this again for anybody. Okay. All right. Will there be a retreat in Hawaii? Great question. We have a retreat. There is still space if you want to join us for Valentine's Day in February. And then we have a shortened version of the retreat that goes over a weekend. This is like, this is the blackest retreat we've done. It'll be in North Carolina. That's in April. Hawaii will not be happening this year. There were just, I love how Ivana put it. She's far more eloquent than I am. But we want, given the conditions on the ground in Hawaii, and because of the way that we want to work with locals, it just wasn't going to come together for us the way we wanted it to for 2024. So Hawaii is still on the slate. It just won't happen in 2024. 2024, we will be in Oaxaca, Mexico. Very excited about that. And then we're gonna end the year in El Salvador again in December. So um, if you are interested in more details about the retreat, go to reclaimtheretreat.com and you can get all of that info there. Okay, so let's talk about 2024. Um, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all and tell y'all I'm sitting at home in 2024 because I've already I'm already booked up through the end of May. Uh, I've already told you I will be in El Salvador in February. But before I go to El Salvador, I will be back in Oaxaca in January. I mentioned this a few months ago. As many of you know, and we just talked about this, I make my own clothes. Um, I don't weave my own fabric. Okay. Somebody asked me that once. No, I don't make the fabric. However, I am picky about the fabric I use. I try to get fabric that has as minimal negative impact with it as possible. So like I try to shop from sustainable sources, places that pay like fair wages, that sort of thing. But I have a particular interest when it comes to textiles and that sort of thing. I've done batik making in or wax print making in Ghana before. When I was in Indonesia, oh, I picked up this gorgeous hand done wax print and was at the factory while they were making the batik. And one of the things two things I want to learn traditional Mexican embroidery, and I want to learn natural dyeing techniques so I can kind of like take natural pigments and meld that in with what I've learned about wax print and that sort of thing. And so I applied to a artist residency and got accepted. So in January, that's where I will be. Now, what does that mean for this YouTube channel in January? I don't know, y'all, because I will not be in the capital city of Oaxaca, which is really just a town. I'm going to be in one of the little towns outside of that. So I don't know what my internet access is going to look like. We're going to have to play that by ear. But spending January learning how to do natural dyeing techniques, February, going to go back to El Salvador. We will be hosting our third retreat there. March, I will be in, I'll be back in the state of Oaxaca again. It's going to be a very Oaxaca heavy year. I'll be back in the state of Oaxaca uh, as a treat to myself for my birthday. I am going on the Afro Mexican experience that is hosted by Diva Green of I Got Your Black. Mexico's outside of Mexico City, um, Mexico's Afro descendant population is primarily in the state of Guerrero and the state of Oaxaca in that area called Costa Chica. So I'm going to spend a week there as my birthday gift to myself. Uh, Followed by April, I'll be in North Carolina. And I think, okay, uh, give the details about the North Carolina retreat. You can get those on the website, reclaimtheretreat.com. It is over a weekend. I believe it is April 19th through the 22nd. We will start in Asheville. We're going to be doing some very cool things and meeting some very cool people. And the whole focus is on the Black American experience in the United States. And we will end in Durham. So you can get the full itinerary and all that stuff if you go to reclaimtheretreat.com. So that's April. And then in May, I am going to South Africa and Zimbabwe. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I will squeeze in some Botswana and Namibia. I'm on the fence about it because from a money standpoint, I should probably not, but I told y'all I struggle saying no to travel, so we'll see. That's May. Um, and I don't have anything planned after that. My granddaughter will probably be back in town in August. Then we have a retreat in October. We have a retreat in December. What am I doing in between? I don't know, but probably it probably won't take me long to fill that in. But as of right now, that those are my big travel plans for 2024. Okay, word up psychotherapy, getting out of Dodge in 2022, 2024, Portugal bound, September. All right now. Hey, Valerina, you right there with me. Ivana tells me all the time, she's like, I don't even know why you fix your mouth to say that you're not going to go somewhere. Um, I don't know. Maybe I like to lie to myself. I don't know, y'all. But yeah, I be in the streets. I do not consider myself a textile artist. I do not consider myself an artist. I just make clothes. I can follow instructions. And I actually had a lot of stress and anxiety about applying to this artist residency because I was like, I'm not an artist. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let me see. Was there another question here? Okay. All right. So I think that's it. So yeah, that's where I went in 2023. And the fact that I'm here doing Vlogmas with y'all, I I am never ever home in December. When my landlord came to pick up the rent, he was like, "So where are you getting ready to go?" And I was like, "Nope, I'm just gonna be here." And he kind of looked at me like, in the 3 years you've lived here, you've never been home. But for once, I am home, and that is one of the reasons why I chose to do Vlogmas because because I was here, and it's been cool. It's been cool hanging out with y'all. Um, who was it? Ba, 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 ba. Somebody mentioned the CNBC. Okay, okay. This just came out today. They didn't even tell me it was out right before I came online. Somebody sent me a text and was like, look at this. So if you want another little aspect of me and my life here in Mexico, go check out. They think there's an article. I don't have links for things right now, y'all, because I just found out it was live. But if you go to the CNBC, make it wherever that is on YouTube on their website. You can see the feature they did of me. Thank you so much, Word Up Psychotherapy, for the super sticker. The Southern Africa, it's going to be a combo because I am in a very lazy point in my life. I don't want to do hard things, okay? And logistics, I think logistics in South Africa are a little easier than other parts of the continent. However, if somebody else can put it all together and coordinate it, I'm here for it. I am traveling on a trip that Kina Williams is doing. Kina was a guest on my channel. We talked about her life in South Africa. Um, and so it'll be group, but if I add in Namibia and Botswana, that part will be solo. It'll just be me by myself. Okay. All right. So that's it for today, y'all. I will see y'all back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern for day 22 of Vlogmas. How about